The title of this briefing is called Leveling Up, and this is just the basic idea that people in the military, we want to have a growth mindset. We want to be thinking about what's next for us. How do I reach that next level? Maybe that's professionally in your career. Maybe that's a career milestone you want to hit. Maybe that's personally. Maybe you have personal goals and personal things that you're aiming at. How do we get there? Maybe your goals and leveling up for you is more family. I want to get married. I want to have a kid. Or I want to plant roots somewhere. Whatever it is. So this, I hope this material will be helpful as we think about reaching that next level, having that growth mindset. What's next? Leveling up. This is material that I think we can all benefit from, and I benefit from just putting it together myself. So that's me. I'm an ordained minister. I've been a Presbyterian minister for 12 years. I've been a licensed counselor for the last 3. Been a chaplain for 10, and 2 master's degrees. So it's the standard slide, like, here's my credentials, here's why you should listen to me. Obligatory slide. This whole idea of leveling up, we're going to base it around something that's called the Serenity Prayer. Now, it is a prayer, and it does have the word God in it, but the principles of this prayer will, transcend religion and transcend any spiritual beliefs that you may or may not have. This is just good life, wisdom, and advice, and so this is what we're going to base this briefing on. So here's a Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This has been attributed to Reinhold Niebuhr, who was a pastor theologian that lived in the early 20th century. If you have ever been to an AA meeting or know of Alcoholics Anonymous, most Alcoholics Anonymous meetings start with the Serenity Prayer. And they've identified that the concepts in this prayer are really important for gaining sobriety, but really they're important for life and for leveling up, which is what we're talking about. So there's 3 parts to this prayer. There is the idea of accepting the things I cannot change. That's the first part. Changing the things I can, and knowing the difference. So as you think about this prayer and you think about your life, you want to think about, what are the things in my life that I cannot change? How can I identify those? And then what are things in my life that I can? And how can I identify those? And how can I know the difference? And that is the tricky part. So let's talk about this. What are some things that you cannot change? So just kind of break it down. People, places, and things. So just question for the group. So think about people. What are some people that you cannot change? People that we might encounter in our careers. And
my supervisor.
You cannot change your supervisor. He, she is a jerk or really nice or a tyrant. You cannot change that about them. That is who they are. That is beyond your control to change. Supervisor, let's go. What else?
I think parents is one thing you can't change.
Parents.
As far as like a birthing, not necessarily who you see.
Generational gap.
Family, parents, generational stuff going on. Yeah, you can't change any of that. You cannot change the family you were brought into. You cannot change the personality of your parents. You cannot change how they treated you. Good, bad, ugly. That is beyond your control to change. That's right. Places. Think about places. So places could be a physical place, location. Places could be a place in life. So what are some places that we cannot change?
We're stuck in the dorms.
I'm living in this crummy dorm. It smells. I got chicken boxes stacked up to the ceiling. Man, that's an inside joke from earlier.
Yeah.
What else?
The wing.
The wing? Like what? Like wing you're part of?
Yeah.
Country you were born.
Country you were born in. You got no say in that. So whatever country you're born in, there's going to be some good things that went along with that, and probably some hard things. Can't control that. You can't control your duty station.
PCS, yeah, sometimes.
Can't control that. When Big Air Force says, "Hey, you're going here," what are you going to do? You got to go.
Get out.
You can get out. That's true. You can get out. Barring that, if you want to continue your career, you got to go, right? You can't control that. All right. Things. What are some things that we cannot change?
The fact that I'm black.
Skin color.
Skin color.
Culture. Can't change it.
Throwing that out there.
Michael Jackson did it.
Well, I guess I could if I got the money.
Yeah, if you had deep wallets, maybe you could do something about that. So there are a lot of things you can't change. For me, if my computer's acting up, that oftentimes that is not something I can change. The computer's going to do what it's going to do. It's going to drive me crazy. But that's something I cannot change. Can I change what Russia's going to do right now? Can I change China? No.
How hot it is outside right now.
How hot it is outside? Can I change the temperature? Nope. These are all things that we cannot change. This is just a small list. So make this mental list of things you can't change. If we focus on that, if we focus and we get spun up on all the things we cannot change about our life, what is that going to do to us kind of like on a psychological level? Stress us out. There's all these things going on I cannot change, and my stress level is, yep. Anxiety. Stress, anxiety, yep.
It can lead to depression.
Depression. Sure, man. All these circumstances, I can't control, but I'm trying to control them, and I'm getting nowhere. And what's the point? Why wake up in the morning? Yeah, you start to have those feelings of depression, sir. Yeah. When we focus on things we can't change, that can lead to frustration, discouragement, depression, anxiety, and it can lead to feeling out of control. So it can lead us down a bad path that's harmful to us, that is counterproductive, and just not a place we want to go. And that's what happens when we focus on the things we can't change. So what we want to do is focus on the things that we can change. And that's going to be the rest of this briefing. This is going to be loosely based on the 4 pillars of the comprehensive airman fitness. So we'll touch on each of those 4, and then I'm going to add a couple more that I think get maybe left out, respectfully, that maybe get left out in the 4 pillars that I think are important. So let's start with the mental. The mental is our mindset. What's our mindset about life? What's our mindset about our day-to-day? And then what about our thoughts? What are we thinking of? How do we direct our thoughts? So the mental is, again, we're thinking about leveling up, hitting that next level. The mental is, do we have a mindset of internalizing the Serenity Prayer? As you go about your day, okay, what are things I can change? What are things I can't change? And am I gaining in wisdom and knowing the difference? That's your mindset. If you woke up in the morning and went through your daily task list, okay, what can I change here? How can I affect some of these things in a positive way? And what are some things that I can't change? And if you gain that mindset, I'm telling you, the sky is the limit. I truly believe that. The sky is the limit for you. So internalizing that Serenity Prayer. And why does AA start every meeting that way? Because it helps. So, would this be a good prayer, or would this be good words to kind of internalize and maybe say out loud every morning? I can see that being really helpful. So, mental, have that mindset. Balanced view of yourself. Here's what I mean by that. Most of us don't look at ourselves in a balanced way. Most of us either think too highly of ourselves, or we don't think enough about ourselves. Some of us think we are God's gift to humanity, and we can do no wrong, and anything that happens that goes haywire in my shop is everyone else's fault but mine, because I'm God's gift to humanity, so it couldn't be me. So some of us lean that way, and some of us lean the other way, which would be, I can't do anything right. If something happened, I'm sure it was my fault. And I'll wake up in the morning and it's not if, it's when something bad's going to happen, and I know it's going to be all emanating from me. Some of us lean one way or the other. What we want is a balanced view of ourselves. We're not thinking too highly of ourselves. We're not thinking too lowly of ourselves. We can identify our strengths and weaknesses. We know what we're good at. We know where our gifts are, and we know, I got some flaws. I got some character issues. I got some, I got some things that I need to work on, and I can identify those, and I'm trying to move through those. That's a balanced view of yourself.
Confident but humble.
A humble confidence. I've heard it said that. Absolutely.
Acknowledging.
Acknowledging. I'm going to acknowledge, hey, I screwed that up, or hey, I've got a tendency to do this when I know that's bad, but that's my tendency. I'm going to acknowledge that. I'm going to be aware of that. Yet, I'm going to recognize I've got real strengths that I bring to this organization, that I bring to my family, that I bring to my friends group. So again, this is how we think about ourselves. So if you are constantly have this mindset that, gosh, my shop is lucky to have me. If you have that, I mean, why could that be detrimental? If you think you are just, there was sliced bread and then a close second was you, how could that be dangerous?
Your ego.
Ego. Ego gets out of control. Yep. Yeah, it's not good. On the other hand, you could see how having that low view of yourself, if all you think about is how bad you are and how many mistakes you make, I mean, you can see that could take you down a bad path too. So again, mentally, in terms of our thoughts, we want to focus on having a balanced view. Here are my strengths. Here are my weaknesses. Here's something that happened today that was a mistake. Here's the part I'm going to own about that. And here's the part I'm not. Here's my contribution to whatever happened. And, here's where other people contributed to it. That's how I'm going to view myself. So if that's a balanced view of yourself, what would be balanced view? How could you kind of take that mindset and apply that to circumstances? What would a balanced view of circumstances look like?
Like, do what you can to change them, but some things are out of your control. So, like if you have a, job you don't like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe apply for other jobs, but don't be upset that you're there currently, because you're doing everything you can to get out of there. So.
Again, it's that serenity prayer. What can I control here? What's out of my control? And can I say, yeah, my job stinks. And it's okay to say that. Like if some of us have been in a place in life where, hey, my job stinks, or my house stinks, or my relationship stinks, or my whatever, kids stink, fill in the blank for you. So you can say, this stinks, but what is going on in my life that's positive? What can I give thanks for? How can I have an attitude of gratitude, even though there's parts that, I'd love to change right now? That's having a balanced view. So if you're looking at your life and you're saying, gosh, everything's going wrong. Well, probably not. Probably not. I mean, maybe. Some people, but probably not. But if you have that mindset, gosh, everything's going wrong, everything's horrible, no good, very bad, where's that going to lead you? Self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If that's how you view your circumstances. So what I'm saying is have a balanced view. Call balls and strikes. Hey, this stinks. This is a challenge right now. This is tough. But you know what? I do have my health. And you know what? I do have people that love me and care about me. I do have a dog that when I walk in, he's thrilled to see me, even if no one else is. Like, I got my dog. That's having a balanced view.
Being optimistic.
It's being optimistic. Yeah, you don't want the negativity from the bad parts of your life to overwhelm you and take you down a bad path. So even in the midst of trial and challenge, I can still be optimistic. I can still see the positives that are there. And that's a discipline. That's a mental discipline. Some people start their day, you guys have heard about like a gratitude journal, and they start their day and they give thanks for everything they can give thanks for that day. And that's a way of kind of charging themselves up for the rest of the day, which who knows what kind of mayhem that's going to bring. But you started the day thinking, all right, what's going well? What can I give thanks for? And that's kind of my fuel for challenges which will come. That's the mental side. Again, it's a mindset, kind of a way of looking at life and yourself, but it's also a moment by moment, can we take control of our thoughts? Do we have a balanced view of ourselves? Do we have a balanced view of our circumstances? That's the mental side. Any more thoughts on that or questions? What can we change? We can change our mentality, our mindset, and oftentimes we can change our thoughts. And that affects our mood, that affects our behavior, and that can put us in a good place to level up, which is this whole idea here. Okay, again, the 4 pillars, we've got the mental. Next we're going to go to the physical, and I just want to touch on this. I am by no means an expert in nutrition or physiology or exercise science or sleep science. But I will say, when we talk about eating, anybody been hangry before? Anybody hangry right now? Anybody want to confess? No? Okay. All right. Hangry is a thing. So what happens is, if this often happens in the morning when we eat dinner, assuming you don't get a midnight snack or something, but you eat dinner like 6 o'clock, and you haven't eaten all night, and you wake up, and you don't have breakfast because you're in a rush, or maybe you're not a breakfast person, whatever, and you get to work at 07:30, and you check your email, and you've got one of those. So in the church world, we would always have the Monday morning email, right? Because the services would be on Sunday, and then you've got this parishioner who's ticked off about something, and they'll send you that email first thing in the morning, telling you how bad your sermon was, or telling you that your tie was crooked, or telling you, whatever. And that's stressful. So here we are, starting our day. We hadn't eaten. We basically had fasted for over 12 hours, and we're starting our day, and that negativity is, wham, hitting us right in the face. What do you think is going to happen? Are you in a good place to handle that?
How dare you email me?
Right. So what happens we haven't eaten, this negative news hits us, and the hangry starts to happen, and what happens? We fire that email back. Well, I didn't like your sermon 2 days ago, or I thought your tie was crooked. We react.
Emotionally.
Our emotion takes over, and it's not good. It's not good. So I say that all to say is what we eat has a huge impact. What we eat and when we eat has a huge impact on you, on your day, and how you interact with others. So I'm not here to prescribe diet advice, but I would say breakfast is an important meal, and if you are feeling stressed or anxious or angry, or so you feel something swell up in you, a good thing to ask yourself would be, have I eaten? When's the last time I ate? And what did I eat? Again, I'm not going into the nutrition realm of this, but I think we all have a general idea of what healthy eating looks like. Again, what can you control? You can control your diet, which is going to put you in a good place to level up, tackle your day. Same thing with exercise. A lot of opinions on exercise and what that looks like, but I'll say exercise only to say it is one of the best bang for your bucks for your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health. I mean, it is a physical activity, but it impacts your relational health. It impacts all of those areas in really positive ways. So again, I'm not going to prescribe exercise plan for you, but I think like a minimum, I think most experts will agree on would say, 3 or 4 days a week, go out for 30 minutes and break a sweat. Do something to get your heart rate up. I'm a former collegiate, ran cross country in college, and we would have something called, we'd go for a run and we would call it a conversation pace. Conversation pace is you're running, but you're not running so fast that you can't carry on a conversation, but you're running fast enough where the conversation is you can do it, but it's a little bit challenging. And that's just kind of that's a helpful rule of thumb for what kind of a good kind of moderate low level of exercise would be, whether that's cardio, whether that's lifting.
That's just a walk.
Do what?
For some of us, that's just a walk.
For some of us, it's a brisk walk. That's exactly right. If that's you, there's no shame in that. Brisk walk for 30 minutes. But you know what? Do that for a few months, and I think you'll find that, I'm not breathing as heavy as I did when I started this a couple months ago. And you build and build. I mean, that's just that is true for almost anybody. Obviously, if you've got a medical condition or a physical limitation. All right, eating, exercise, sleeping. Sleeping, again, we are focusing on what can we control. I can control my exercise. I can control my eating, and there's a lot about our sleep that's within our control. And I want us to think about if we're not getting enough sleep. Those of us with small children, or those of us, for whatever reason, we're not getting enough sleep. What kind of mental state are you in if you hadn't slept well a couple nights? Brain fog.
Easily irritated.
I'm easily irritated. So brain fog. I'm not thinking clearly. I'm not making good decisions. I'm making mistakes. Right? Easily irritated. So something that, if you were well rested, might bother you, but you'd shrug it off. If you're tired, you can go from 0 to 10 and explode on somebody really easily because you haven't slept. So again, what can we control to put ourselves in a good place to level up? We can control our sleep. So important. That's something you can do. That's easy. So some of us it's not easy, but some of us just a discipline of going to bed at a certain time, waking up at a certain time, being well rested will put you in such a better position to tackle the day. So again, that's a physical part of this that we can control. Any more thoughts or questions on the physical?
I found that if you focus on those first two, eating and exercising, sleeping comes easier.
There you go. Yes, if we're eating well and we're doing regular exercise, we'll find that we're more tired, and when we hit the pillow, I agree, I find that I fall asleep easier. So yeah, some of these things you start implementing into your life, you'll find a domino effect of, if you get the eating and exercise right, the sleeping will follow. So it's compounding interest. Yeah, totally agree. All right. What can I control? Social. This is the third pillar. What can I control? I can control my social life. So the question would be, who is in your inner circle? Who are you good friends with? Who knows you? Who knows about your life? And are you surrounding yourself with people that are of good character, that make good decisions, that are wise, that you go away with, if you're hanging out with your friends and you walk away and you feel, you know what, I feel like I'm in a better place for hanging out with these people. Those are the kind of people we want to hang around with. If they're people that you're hanging around with and they're immature and they're making poor decisions and they're running up debt and they're staying out till 4 a.m., I think that's a good question to ask. Hey, are these the type of people that are going to help me level up? Are these the type of people that are going to keep me stagnant? Or are these the type of people that are going to bring me down? I can't answer that question for you, but you can. Who's in your inner circle? And are they people that are pushing you in a good direction or holding you back? Are they people that can have an honest conversation with you about decisions you're making and call you to the carpet if that needs to happen? Another question would be, do you have an inner circle? Some of us don't. Some of us live lives, we go to work, we go home, and we don't really talk much. We don't interact. And that's a problem. I don't know if you guys saw, back in May, the Surgeon General released an 81-page report, and he said our loneliness and isolation, he used the phrase epidemic. It's an epidemic in our country and a public health crisis on par with obesity and substance abuse. He was putting it in that category. And that's our, top public health official, the Surgeon General, that's saying this. So have people in your life. Don't live life in a silo. If you don't have an inner circle, are there people that that, hey, I'm kind of friends with that person, or I'm an acquaintance with that person? What would it look like to take that friendship to another level? I don't know the answer to that, but you do. And that could be a really good thing you can do, again, to take yourself to the next level, put yourself in a good place. And then transparency. You can be around people all day. You can have an inner circle, quote unquote, but if they don't really know you, what you're struggling with, your inner demons, your flaws, your weaknesses, that darker side that we all have, if there's not people in your life that know that about you, I would say that you could still be leading an isolated life, even if you're around people all day. One of the best things we can do is to be open and honest about our struggles, be open and honest with what's going on. And, I'm a counselor, and a lot of times people come into my office, or even as a chaplain, people come into my office and they'll talk about their life, or they'll share what's going on. And after an hour of me mostly listening, I'll ask, I'll say, thanks for sharing this. This is really heavy. And I'll say, who else knows about this? And a lot of times they'll say, no one, you're the first person I've told. And you know what happens? They leave my office and they feel better. They feel better. Nothing's changed. There's been no strategy. There's been no 10-point plan to get their life back on track. Nothing has changed except they've shared what's going on. They've taken something in the dark and they brought it out into the light. And just by doing that, they feel better. Circumstances hadn't changed. Life still stinks, but you know what? This burden I've been carrying, the weight of this struggle or challenge or addiction or whatever it is, this got a little lighter because I told somebody. That's transparency. That's one thing you can do to put yourself in a good place, to reach your goals, to level up. Last thing on social. Someone mentioned we can't change our supervisor. We can't change our supervisor. He or she's going to walk in and have a bad attitude and not treat us with respect and, curse and, whatever. We can't change that. What can we change? How we respond. And even if they're coming at us with all the negative vibes and, disrespectful language, what can we do? We can be respectful. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. We can take the high road, and even if they're being a jerk to us, we can kill them with kindness. That's something we can control. And if you do that, oftentimes you'll find that your supervisor, or whoever, fill in the blank for you, that will change them. So we can't change them. We can't change the other person, but by changing ourselves and how we respond, can that affect them? And in a kind of a backdoor way, can that impact them and change them? It can. We're not focusing on that, though. I'm focusing on me. And regardless of how they act towards me, I'm going to react towards them in a respectful way that shows them, kindness and dignity. And I think you'll find, and I'm sure you guys have this experience, where that will have a good effect on the relationship and might take the edge off of them. That often happens. Much more we could say about that, but any thoughts or questions on the social pillar?
You had mentioned at the beginning of your inner circle and everything of are these people keeping you up until 4 a.m. immature or something like that. So not necessarily inner circle, but do you think it's a bad idea to have those people as you are a mentor?
Yeah. Yeah, so what he's saying is, are you saying we shouldn't be around people that are negative influences? Are you saying we should have no people in our life that are making bad decisions and making poor choices? I think it's a great point. Yeah, if you never surround yourself with those people, well, who is? Who's going to be that shining light in their life? So I would say yes and amen to that, as long as you feel like you're in a good place where, if your cup is full, then you can overflow in other people. If you're in a good place, you can be that mentor for them. And the fact that that's even on your radar probably means that you are. So yeah, certainly there's certainly a place for mentorship, for spending time with people that, you look at and say, yeah, I'm not sure, not a whole lot of maturity going on right here, but can you be a positive influence on them? Yeah, yes and amen for that. Yeah, that's a great point.
Listen, if you call me after 7 o'clock, I'm never in for bed.
Timing's everything, right?
As long as you know, man.
All right, spiritual pillar. Now, of course, the chaplain's office is going to come and talk about the importance of our spiritual life because they're the chaplain and they got to do that, whatever. Well, yes, but also no. So your spiritual life is important. And it's not just me as a religious person saying that. The data says that. So here is, this is a document that came out of the Office of Health and Human Services. And it is a document that helps assess someone who might be at risk for suicide. So it kind of walks you through someone you know or someone who walks in your office, how would you kind of assess their suicide risk? And it goes through some different steps, and it talks about risk factors. So what's going on in their life that puts them at risk for suicide? Did they have a loss? Did they have a life transition? Did they have, what's their family history? What's going on? Are they depressed? Goes through risk factors. Risk factors increase your risk of suicide. Then they have protective factors. And protective factors are things in your life that lower your risk. And you guys probably can't see, but one of the protective factors that the U.S. government, not a spiritual institution, I mean, it's just not the government's role. One of the protective factors is religious beliefs. So having strong religious beliefs and convictions can lower your risk of suicide. This is the government saying that. Thoughts on that? Why would that be? Why would they list religious beliefs as something that could lower your suicide risk?
Because when all else fails, and you don't have anyone, that inner circle, the mental health, the social, all that, if you have some type of spiritual or religious foundation, faith, you can lean on that in those dark times. You feel alone.
Yeah, my whole world may be crumbling around me. My friends and family may have pieced out on me. I got nothing left, but you know what? I've got God, or whatever, right? As a Protestant, I would say God, but there's something to hang on to that transcends my circumstances. Do you think that would help you in a dark moment?
I've been there.
Absolutely, yeah, I'm sure a lot of us have, So again, I point to the spiritual dynamic here, not because I'm a chaplain, though I am, but to say that this is secular psychology and mental health professionals. I mean, this is an important thing. This is an important dynamic that we can control. Our spiritual life, is this a priority? Is this something that we value? Is this a part of our life? That's something we can control. It gives us purpose. So, how many of us have things in our job and are assigned things that we think are pointless and menial and, gosh, this training again?
Never.
That's the way. Never, no, I never have anything like that. So you could look at that and say, gosh, I got to waste a whole day on this. This is ridiculous and pointless. You could say that, but then what can you say? If you're a spiritual person, you can say, you know what? My commander is asking me to do this, and I think it's ridiculous, and I think he or she's ridiculous. But you know what? I'm not serving him or her. But I am. But I'm serving something higher. I'm serving something higher, and that all of a sudden gives meaning to these things in our life that we think are trivial or hard or challenging. So spiritual beliefs really do give us purpose and give us meaning in ways, I would say maybe ways that only it can. Values. Moral compass. What's my sense of right and wrong? Our religious beliefs are where a lot of us find that. So what's my moral compass? Where, I got this goal, I want to level up, but what are my boundaries here? Are there ethical lines that I, for myself, I know in my religious beliefs, where are the lines that I need to stay in? Do I know where those are? Do I know what's out of bounds in my own ethical system? Religious beliefs can really inform that. And lastly, power source. And a lot of us will find that our spiritual beliefs give us fuel. They give us drive. They motivate us. They give us energy. And as just to speak personally, I'm a Protestant Christian chaplain, and one thing I believe, and the Bible says this, at John 6, John says that Jesus is our bread of life. So for the Christian, we need physical food, but we need spiritual food. And the Bible equates both of those. And so if you take a Christian and cut them off from their relationship with God, you're cutting off their power source. You're cutting off their energy supply. So again, as a spiritual person, as a Christian, I need to pay attention to that. Say, all right, am I going to church? Am I reading my scriptures regularly? Am I praying regularly? Because that's my power source. That's my power source. And other religious systems handle that differently, but that's just an example from my own life. But your spiritual walk, your spiritual life can be that power source for you. So I am not here to proselytize. I am not here to whack you over the head and say, be in chapel on Sunday, that you should come to chapel. But I am here to say that, a lot of you are here. Maybe this is your first duty station out of school. Maybe some of you are here for school and just here for a short time. And, but it can be a time of transition. And maybe it's a time to say, all right, is my spiritual life something maybe I could take some steps to cultivate? Kind of had a fresh start here at Maxwell. Maybe what could I do to cultivate that part of me? Or maybe I am a spiritual person, but it's kind of hadn't been a priority for me lately. Maybe what would it look like to bring that back to the forefront? Just something to think about. It's something you can control. A few more points here. Our emotions and the pillars put this under the mental pillar. I think it's separate from the mental, because emotions it can be, our mind and our thoughts play a role in it, but emotions can be physical. I just think emotions are bigger than that. So our emotions. So do we have control of our emotions? Are we self-aware? This is emotional intelligence language. Are we self-aware? If you are feeling angry or frustrated or anxious, are you aware when that's happening? Or are you like most of us and we just say, I'm fine. I'm fine. I can be I'm fine person. I'm trying to grow in this area. But if you just tell yourself I'm fine when you're really not fine, where could that lead you?
You're hiding it.
Hiding it, pushing it down. You got these emotions, you're not recognizing them, you're denying them, you're stuffing them, which might work.
Unhealthy learned behavior.
We could have picked that up from somewhere, right? Someone told us or someone modeled for us. Yeah, you don't show it. You stuff it. You're fine. You're always fine. That's in a lot of corners, part of the military culture.
I was going to say that. I mean, that's really the old military mentality.
We're trying to change it, aren't we? Yeah, 20 years ago that was for sure. But I think we're trying to grow as an Air Force, as a military, to say, you know what, it's okay to admit that you're not okay in a moment or even in a season of life. So be self-aware. Super important. If you're self-aware, if you're willing to admit that you're not fine, and if you admit you're not fine, you say, hey, you know what, I'm actually not in a good place right now, so maybe I need to not make this big decision today. You know what, I'm actually not fine, so I am going to excuse myself from this high-stakes discussion or this argument with my spouse, because I know I'm not in a good place. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. I need to take a time out. And you know what, 2 days from now or later tonight, we'll circle back on it. I'll be in a better place to make this decision. I'll be in a better place to have this conversation. I'll be in a better place to finish this conflict and have it resolved because I've got myself under control. Be self-aware. Know when you're not okay. This is very hard. This is very hard. One thing that you see this big wheel here, this is the emotions wheel or the feelings wheel. Google it, it's pretty helpful, but it goes through, in the center of the circle is kind of core emotions. And I just took one little sliver out because some of us have a hard time naming what's going on, but naming it is so important. You can't respond to it if you can't name it. So, you take one of these core emotions in the circle and, so you ask, well, how are you feeling today? I'm feeling kind of bad. Well, what does that mean? But that's one of the core emotions it has is feeling bad, which is very nebulous and whatever. But if you take a step out, you can kind of start to hone in on what does bad mean? Am I bored? Am I really busy? Am I stressed? Am I tired? Okay, I'm tired. All right, so I'm feeling bad and I'm feeling tired. Am I feeling sleepy, unfocused? So again, it is a helpful way to, if you can get in the ballpark of what you're feeling with this feelings wheel, you can kind of expand out and really name what's going on. And if you can name it, the famous phrase is, if you can name it, you can tame it. So self-awareness of our emotions. On the same way, we can be aware of other people's emotions. We can be aware, again, I cannot control their emotions. They're going to be angry, sad. That is on them. That is not on you. What you can control is how you interact with them. So if someone's upset or whatever it is, you can take steps to de-escalate and lower the temperature in the room, or you can raise the temperature, and you can, feelings are contagious. You can catch their anger, and the whole thing blows up. So you can be other aware. Are you aware of the emotions of the people around you? Are you aware when your spouse has had a bad day? Are you aware when your supervisor is stressed to the max and has a short fuse? Do you take that in consideration when you interact with them? And then the timeout. And the timeout is, you know what? Because I'm not in a good place emotionally, or the person I'm with is not in a good place emotionally, I'm calling a timeout. We're going to go to our corners. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to, whatever I need to do, and we're going to come back and deal with the situation. Last concept, and we'll wrap this up. Stress. How do we deal with stress? Stress is a reality. The good news is, if our house is in order, mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, if our house is in order, those are all proactive steps we can take that when stress comes in, it does, we're going to be in so much of a better place to handle it. It's still going to affect us. It's still there. But if you are in a good place in these other areas, you will find that you're not going to be stressed as much, and you're gonna weather that storm. We call that resilience, right? That's a nice little Air Force buzzword. You'll be more resilient. Are you aware when you're stressed? Again, do you know when, hey, I'm actually not okay. I'm actually not fine. Do you know? Can you pick up on that when that's happening to you? And do you have good coping strategies? All of us cope with stress in different ways. You know what works for you. And if you don't, Google it and try some things out. Find something that works. How I cope with stress is I will lace up my shoes and go for a 5-mile run. And I'll come back feeling better. Now, for some of you,
that sounds stressful to me.
For some of you, you'd rather have a molar pulled than go do that, right? So that works for me. It's not going to work for you. But what works for you? I don't know. Can't answer that. But you can. And when you feel that stress bubbling up and you say, you know what, I'm actually stressed and I'm actually not okay, what can I do to put myself in a better place? Again, what can you control? Can't control stress. You can control your response to the stress.
There you go. That's what I was going to ask you. Are you talking about controlling the reaction, right?
The reaction, yeah.
Yeah, not the...
Can't control what's coming at you.
Yeah.
Yep. That email's still going to come. Nothing you can do about that.
Gotcha.
How do you respond? And what are you doing to put yourself in a good place? Yep.
Stress is something that I always looking into, especially this past 4 years, right? So they got good stress and there's bad stress. Is that a thing? I want to hear from you. Eustress, hence getting married, getting ready to retire. You know, they're good things, but they're stressful.
Mm-hmm.
So, but your body still reacts the same.
It's a great point. Is there such thing as a good stress? Is there good stress and bad stress? Mm-hmm. I heard this analogy recently. Is there good cholesterol and bad cholesterol? Well, maybe that's a debatable topic. But does some stress that we feel, is it good in the terms of it's calling us to action? The stress is saying, hey, pay attention. Pay attention to this over here, this relationship, this email, this whatever. So some of that stress is good. It makes us say, oh, okay, I got to pay attention to this. This needs my attention. So obviously that would be a good thing. But can you be stressed? Maybe some of that's good, but then can that descend into a state of distress where this is taking me down a bad path and I am about to take someone's head off? Where's that line for you? Yeah, it's a great point. Implement coping strategies. And then here, there are very few thoughts that anyone comes up with that are actually original. This is actually an original thought of mine, so I put the little trademark on there. It's not really a trademark. But this is the stress paradox, and this is our last concept. The stress paradox goes like this. The moments in life where you are stressed, your to-do list is 6 miles long, you got 50 hours of work you need to cram into 24, you are stressed, you are irritable. That is the exact time where you need to do something to cope with it. But it is the exact time where you got no time to do something to cope with it. So for me, the days I'm most stressed The days I most need to go for a run are the days when there's the least time to do it. And I don't feel like I can because, well, if I go for a run for 30 minutes, that's 30 minutes I'm not going to have to tackle my to-do list. That's a paradox. The times we most need to use our coping strategies are the times when we have the least time to do it and usually don't. That's the paradox. The challenge for us is to move through it and to say, you know what? I got a lot going on right now. I'm stressed to the max. I got deadlines coming at me. But you know what? I am actually going to go to sleep at a normal time. And yes, that means part of my to-do list is not going to get done. But you know what? I'm going to wake up tomorrow refreshed, on a full night's sleep, and be ready to tackle the day. That's how you move through the paradox. To say, yes, I'm going to take time out to go for a run or listen to music or take a nap, whatever it is for you. I'm going to take time out to do that. And yes, the to-do list is going to take a hit, but I'm going to see that as an investment in me to put myself in a better place for the next day. That's the stress paradox. All right, action steps. I have thrown a lot at you. And so if you're looking at me and you're saying, yeah, that seems like a lot, it is. It absolutely is. So what I want you to do is there one or two things on this presentation that kind of piqued your interest? Are there one or two things on here that you saw the slide and you're like, oh man, yeah, got me. Nailed me. Yeah, I know I need to work on my eating. I know I need to, whatever it is. Pick one thing and focus on it. Take the next month or 2 months and say, you know what, I'm going to hit this one area. I'm going to hit it hard, and I'm going to see where that takes me. My guess is if you can focus on that one thing, that's all I'm asking. If you try to focus on everything, you will fail, and most of you will fail. I know I would if I tried to do it all. Focus on that one thing, whatever it is for you. I think you'll find it will make a huge difference in an outsized way. And again, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And if you can get that right, you may not level up in the way you want to. You may not hit your goal. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. I don't know. But if you have this mindset, regardless of what happens in your life, regardless of what happens in the day, 9 times out of 10, when you go to sleep at night, you can go to sleep having serenity, having peace to say, you know what, this didn't turn out like I wanted it to, but I did everything I could. I changed everything I could change, but you know what? I couldn't change this, couldn't change that, and so this is how it ended up. But you know what? I'm going to sleep well tonight knowing that I left it all out there. I changed what I could change and left the results to what they were going to be. And that's what I want. That's what we all want. We all want to have that peace and that serenity. So, but that was helpful. Thank you all for coming. And I'll hang around for questions.